गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी लीला वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी Hare Krishna. I would like to thank everybody for joining the Sunday program. So today we will be reading from 5th chapter, Shloka number 15. So please repeat after me. नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैवा सुकृतं विभु अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम् न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम् तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः.
Word to word meaning. Please repeat after me. Na. Never. Adatte. Accepts. Kasyachit. Anyone's. Papam. Sin. Na. Not. Cha. Also. Eva. Certainly. Sukritam. Pious activities. Vibhu. The Supreme Lord. Ajnanena. By ignorance. Avritam. Covered. Jnanam. Knowledge. Tena. By that. Muhyati. Are bewildered. Jantava. The living entities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nor does the Supreme Lord, please repeat after me, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers the real knowledge. Purport. The Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord, who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is by superior nature, full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation, which may be desired. Being in bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma or the super soul, and therefore he can understand the desire of the individual souls, as one can smell the flavor of a flower by being near it. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desire. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desire of the minute, independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, Eshavi eva sadhu karma karyati tam yam ebhyo lokebhya uninishate. Eshav eshado karma karyati yam ado uninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Kaushiki Upanishad 3.8. One more shloka is there. Atno jandur anishoyam atmana sukha dukkhayo Ishvara prerido gache swargam vasav abhramayevacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful and cognizant due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped in a sense. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutra 2.1.34 also confirms this. Vaishamya naigranyena sapsakatva tadahi drishyati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, although he appears to. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chaturmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagaraguna Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpare Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostute Raktakanjana Rangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarudhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Padinanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yatkavadamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinakayam Paramanandama. Hare Krishna. So again I would like to welcome all of you for the Sunday program. Actually this sloka is a little philosophical, it's a little difficult sloka, but somehow it is my turn actually today to take the class. So though I don't think I'm really qualified to discuss this topic, but I am just praying for all of your mercy and senior Vaishnavas so that I will be able to talk something which actually is relevant. So please bear with me. Okay. So the shloka we already read. What it says is that Nadatte kashyajit pavam na chaivam sukrutam vibhu atnane navritam dhanam tena mukhyanti jantava. So here actually there are two important aspects here. One is it says that the Lord is not responsible for our karma. Right? That is one aspect. And why do we think? Generally we think that Lord is responsible, right? So generally we have a tendency, people say that why this happened to me? Why God did this to me, right? Do we say like that generally? Why it happened to me? Why God is doing this to me, right? So this is our general understanding. So why that situation or why that thought is coming? Because it is explained that it is because of Atnane Navritam Jnanam. So because the intelligence is covered or the intelligence bewildered, actually the living entity is thinking in this way. Right? The Lord is the responsible for our karma. So we'll see this into a little more detail. What is today's topic? So I made some points, so we'll go through that. Okay, so here actually there are some important words actually. So there is a topic known as Vibhu, right? So what is Vibhu? Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are two things, Vibhu and Anu, right? The Supreme Lord is considered as infinitely powerful and capable of doing like everything. Like he is the source of everything. And Anu means we are very limited. So the living entities are Anu and the Supreme Lord is Vibhu. And how the Vibhu is understood is by the 6 opulence of the Supreme Lord, right? So Aishwarya Samagrasya, right? Basically, what are the 6 opulences of Supreme Lord? Austerity, renunciation, yeah. So, yeah. So knowledge, all beauty, all strength, all fame, then wealth and renunciation. These are 6 opulences. So everybody actually, Ishvara, the word Ishvara is defined as somebody is a controller, right? And one who possesses all the opulences to the fullest extent, he is actually the Supreme Ishvara or the Supreme Lord. So why do we suffer in the living material world? Why do living entities suffer in the material world? What is our understanding about it? Because of past karma. Yes.
Because they are not under pressure.
Yes. Any other answers? Covered by illusion. Yes.
We were envious of Krishna.
Yes.
That's why we came to this.
Yeah. So that's how it starts, right? So how does it all started? Right? Basically, our Acharya says that our understanding is that all the living entities which are there in the material world, we are at one point of time we were part of the spiritual world, right? So the material world is known as Ekapada Vibhuti, right? It's 1/4 of the entire creation, and the spiritual world is known as Tripada Vibhuti, which actually means it's 4 times, like 1/3, 1/4, and 3/4, right? So actually the material world itself, if you see, it is so vast, it's infinite, right? There are so many millions of, like according to scientific understanding also, the material world is very, very vast. So you can imagine what is the size of spiritual world, right? The spiritual world is extremely vast. So what we understand from Acharyas is that only 10% of the spiritual entities which are in the spiritual world falls down to the material world. Okay, the 90% is there always in the spiritual world. So only a very small part of the living entities. Why do they fall down? Because actually they have a desire to enjoy independent of the Lord. So the example is given, just like a father. You may think that why the living entities will envy the Lord, right? We will ask if everything is good. I think Prabhupada's disciples, they asked them, Prabhupada, because in spiritual world everything is perfect, right? Why would somebody fall down from spiritual world? Or why would somebody wants to enjoy? Okay, so the answer is given that if somebody asks, if Krishna wants, then nobody will fall down. He can make it such a way that nobody falls down to the material world, right? If he wants, he can do that. But why Krishna doesn't do that? So the thing is that anybody has an answer for that? Why Krishna?
He's allowing free will to enjoy.
Yes, free will.
He asked for it.
Yes. So the thing is that the free will is the main reason actually, because in material world also we can understand that if, let's say, if there's a relationship between two people, like let's say two people love each other, if the love is forced, then actually that love is not a superior love, right? The love actually makes sense only when there is a freedom. When there's a freedom, then only actually that love actually has a mellow or a taste, right? So similarly, the Lord, then every living entity has a minute independence, right? By which the living entity can decide what he wants to do. So in the spiritual world, just like the example is given that, let's imagine that's a very, very wealthy person, right? He has all the riches, like somebody like Ambani, right? Or somebody like Bill Gates. Basically, he has everything. But still, it is quite possible that we see that sometimes when the children become young, they have a desire to live separately, even though the father is having everything, because there is a tendency, right? Even though everything is there, still they have sometimes desire that I want to be like my father or I want to live separately, right? So this tendency is there in every living entity. So because of which the Lord actually doesn't want anybody to come to the material world, right? But sometimes the living entity insists, like just like a small boy, again and again, let's say he tells that I want to play outside, and when the boy insists again and again, then father may say, okay, go, right? So similarly, the living entities actually comes down to the material world. So Prabhupada used to quote a Bengali poem, you might have heard, Krishna Buliya Jiyo Bhogavang Chakare, Nikate Aste Maya Tare Japatiya Dare. So what it means is that Krishna Buliya Jiva Bhogavang Chakare. So when a living entity forgets Krishna, right, or when he stops desiring to serve the Lord, then immediately Maya catches, right? Immediately the living entity comes under the control of Maya, and then the living entity's journey in the material world starts like that. Okay, they come to the material world, and then they fall into the cycle of birth and death, of the cycle of karma, right? They actually fall. So that is how it is explained in the scriptures, how the living entity comes. And so the one important thing now which actually we find it very difficult to understand is that, so let's say something happens in our life, various things happen in our life, some incidents happen, let's say something bad happens, right? So how do you understand whether it is by will of Lord? Is it happening by the will of the Lord or no? Is it happening? So how do you understand that? So one way you can say that it is told that not even a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord, right? That is how actually, because Lord is omnipotent, He has all His, which we discussed, no? He has all His potencies. So, but at the same time, the material world, like we have the sloka, no? Maya Dekshena Prakriti Suyadeva Saradaram, right? So actually Krishna says that this material world is working under my direction, right? But how it is to understood is just like, let's say there's a billionaire, like somebody like Ambani. He has so many different factories, right? And the factory is fully automated. Let's say, as per the new modern thing, the factory is completely automated. It's working, everything is running automatically. So, the owner, he doesn't have to come and check everything, right? But actually at the same time, he is supervising indirectly, but he doesn't have to interfere. So same way, the Supreme Lord, actually the material energy is one of his external, the Lord's external energy, right? So there are three primary energies: the internal energy, which is the Yoga Maya potence of the Lord; the external energy, which is the Maya, right? Bahiranga Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, and the third one is Tadastha Shakti. So the living entities are known as the marginal potency. So the external energy of the Lord is actually manifested as the material world, and the material world, like superintendent of this material world is Durga, right? The material world is known as, material world is compared to a fort or a jail, and this place is for reformation of the living entity. And Durga Devi is the superintendent. She doesn't allow anybody to go escape from this prison, right? She has the trident, which are the three kleshas: Adi, Baudik, Adhyatmika, and Adi Devi, right? So, but actually the thing is that the Lord, everything is actually automated in the sense of the Lord, the material world is there, and the material laws are there, and the material world works automatically. The Lord doesn't have to interfere every day what is happening. Each and every living entity's karma, He doesn't have to interfere. So this is how the material world works. So what happens, the time the living entity forms and the desires, based on the desire of the living entity, right? And the karma, and the three modes. So these are the three primary factors that actually decides the journey of the living entity in the material world, right? So the material energy, which actually consists of three modes, Devi Esha Gunamayi, right? Guna means the three modes. So the three modes, the material energy, which consists of three modes, that is acting continuously on the living entity, based on which we actually do different activities in our day-to-day life. This is one thing. And what is, we are impelled by our desires. The living entity continuously has various desires, right? So the desires are just like, it is called, it's compared to the waves of the ocean, right? If you go to an ocean and if you wait for the waves to stop, is it going to happen? Waves just keep coming one after another, right? So similarly, the living entity has so many desires, and one after another, so many desires come, and then the Lord actually fulfills the desire, right? How? So the Lord, there are actually two aspects. See, because the living entity has fallen down from the material world, spiritual world, the Lord accompanies every living entity in the form of Paramatma, right? Super soul. So in Brahma Samhita we have, no? Brahma Samhita, it says that the Lord enters every atom. Anda andarastha paramanu jaya andarastam, right? So he enters every atom. And in Bhagavad Gita we know that Sarvasya jaham hridisannivishto, right? Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So he is saying that Sarvasya jaham hridisannivishto. So I am present in everybody's heart as a super soul. So this way, the Lord actually accompanies the living entity. But nevertheless, in Bhagavad Gita, the shloka, this shloka is that Upadrishtanumandacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Degesmin Purushapara. So here actually this is the shloka which tells that the Paramatma is accompanying the living entity, right? So the Paramatma has two functions, Upadrishta and Anumanta. So Upadrishta means just observing the activities, and Anumanta means the sanctioning the activities. So actually in Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad there is a shloka which says that Samanya Vrikshe Purusho Nimagno Anishaya Shochati Mukhyamana Jushtam Yada Pashyadi Anyam Isham Asya Mahimana Midi Vitakosha Shoka. So what it means is that basically the shloka says that it gives an analogy, right? It gives an example of a tree. Okay, there's a tree with lot of fruits, and on that tree there are two birds which are sitting. Okay, one bird is actually the Jivatma, right, the living entity, and the other bird is Paramatma. So one bird, the Jivatma, is always busy eating the fruits of the trees. So just like the living entity's desire, because of desire we are continuously trying to fulfill our desires by doing various activities, right? We are very busy enjoying the fruits, and the Paramatma is actually just observing. So the Paramatma has two functionalities. One is Anumanta and Upadrishta. Upadrishta means he doesn't interfere with the activities of living entity. He is just sitting there and he sanctions the activities. So it is told that even if you want to do any activity, the living entity, just I want to lift my hand. For that also the Paramatma sanction is required. If Paramatma doesn't give the permission, then I will not be able to lift my hand. So this way, but actually generally Lord always sanctions the desire. He generally doesn't forbid anything. He just sanctions. Okay, so this way the living entity is actually spending his time in the material world. So the question is that, so whether the Lord is responsible for karma. So the understanding is that only the living entity himself is responsible for his karma. That is a right understanding, because once we are in the material world, as I told you, the desire of the living entity and its activities, karma, the action and reaction principle, that actually works continuously. So the living entity desires, and then he get into different activities, various activities, and then entangles in the material world. So every activity that you do, there is a reaction, right? The karma will have a reaction. So this way, one after another, we keep on accumulating different karma. So some karma, like we have karmas are three types, right? Karma, vikarma, and akarma. Right? So karma is that activity we do as per the scriptures, or as per our varna and ashrama, as per our dharma. Whatever activity we do is the karma. Then vikarma is that activity which we do against the scriptural injunctions, against our dharma. So, and the third one is called akarma, is that activity which actually doesn't have any reaction. So karma will give you good reactions, right? Punya karma by default, right? And vikarma, which will cause papa actually, which will give negative reactions. And so whether we do punya or papa, we are entangled actually, because to take the result of good activities, we may take birth again in the material world, either in earthly planet or in a higher planet. And when our spiritual credits are over, then Kshine Punya Martyalogam Vishanti, right? When our spiritual credits are over, then again we fall to this Martyaloga, because only in this Martyaloga actually we can accumulate karma, right? And again we accumulate a lot of karma, then actually we may fall down, go to a lower planetary system. So this way the living entity is continuously going through different births in different planetary system. Brahmanda Brahmide Kono Bhagyavan Jiv Guru Krishna Paye Bhakti Ladavi, right? So after wandering through millions of universes, Brahmanda Brahmide, and Brahmanda Brahmide Kono, and in different bodies, right? Finally, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one actually gets the knowledge by which actually we can again go back to Krishna. So this way, so generally, so the understanding is that who is responsible for the karma? Krishna is responsible or we are responsible? We are all responsible, right? Because based on the desire, we actually accumulate karma. So one example is given is like this actually. So let's say somebody is suffering very badly, and then there's a tendency that okay, we'll pray. Somebody will say, "Oh Lord, why you did this to me? Okay, I did not do anything wrong in this life, right? I was a very nice person. Why it happened to me?" So the example is given just like a judge, right? There's a court and a judge. So based on whatever activity you do, the judge may give a death penalty, for example. No, his verdict is that okay, this person has to be hanged. So can the convict think that the judge is responsible for my fate? It's not, right, because already there are laws, and because you transgress the law, you are actually awarded this punishment. Same way, in the material world there are material laws, and as soon as the living entity comes to the material world, we are bound by the material rules, and so we are only responsible. If you follow the material rules, then actually you will not be punished. Which means that let's say you don't do. If you are only worried about bad karma, then you only do good karma. Then you will keep getting the result of good karma. But the point is that whether it is good, like Prabhupada will give the example, whether it is first class jail, second class jail, right, or third class jail, it doesn't matter. A jail is jail only. So similarly, a first class jail may be a birth in a very good family, right, having a lot of good fortune, or maybe taking birth in a heavenly planet, or even Lord Brahma, right? But actually, it's also first class jail. It is jail only. Ultimately, why it is jail? Because all the Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, right? These four things will be there anywhere. Abrahma Gunar Loga, Puraravartina Arjuna, right? Mama Vedita Dondeya, Punar Janmana Vidari. So, Abrahma Gunar Loga, from the topmost planet of Brahma Loga, right, to the lowest planet, always there is this cycle of birth and death, right? The four miseries. We cannot escape anywhere. So, everywhere it is a prison. Now, if you go to a first class prison and you say, I'm very fine, it doesn't make sense. So, basically, the point is that somehow or other, our goal is to get out of the prison. Whether it is, so how can we get out of the prison? Yes, so only akarma is the only way actually which will free us from the cycle of birth. And if you do karma and vikarma, both actually good activities, bad activities, both will bind us in the material world. So only way is akarma, which actually is devotional activity. And anything which is connected to the Supreme Lord, any activity, that is the only activity which actually can free us from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so and about the karma, so the karma is very, very difficult topic, right? Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember the shloka, like, what is that, Muneo, that's a shloka, is that what is it? Anybody knows the shloka? The meaning is that even the great yogis, they are bewildered by the karma. Kavayo Rabi, something is that shloka. Basically, the Lord says that even the great souls, right, even great yogis and mystics, they are actually also bewildered by this topic of karma. So it's very difficult to understand this topic of karma, right? So we are trying to understand today, but whatever possible by mercy of Acharyas we can understand a little bit, but it's very difficult. So nevertheless, this karma, there are three, to understand the karma, there is one good analogy which is given in scriptures. It is the example of a bowman, somebody who is an archer, right? There is an archer who is actually, he has shot one arrow just now, okay, and the next arrow is about to shoot. Okay, so this is the situation currently. So, and then he has a cure back behind, right? All the arrows are straight behind. So basically, first arrow he takes and he shoots, that is gone, and the second arrow is about to shoot now. So this is the state. So the example is given like this, that the arrows which are there in the cure, right? So this is all the karma which you have accumulated. No, that is known as the Sanchita karma. That karma which you have accumulated over all the millions of lifetimes, that is there in the quiver, that is the Sanchita karma. And the arrow which is just shot, right? That is known as the prarabdha karma. Okay, that is the karma which actually I am supposed to enjoy or suffer in this lifetime. So this prarabdha karma is just like the arrow which is already shot. There is no control. I can't do anything. It's already gone. Now I can't do anything, right? So similarly, the prarabdha karma is very, very difficult to change. Okay, it's already we're destined for that. And the next arrow which I am about to shoot, it is known as, what is the name for that? One name is agami karma, or one more name is kriyamana karma. Right? So this is the karma. These are the activities which I am now doing, for which I will get a reaction in the future. So this is, I am about to do this activity. So this way there are three kind of types of karma, you can call it. Right? So irrespective of whatever the type, and then there is also other categories, no? Like it is known as the bija, kudastha, and what is the palanmukha, like that there are different categories. Like it's all complex things. But a point what we have to understand is that there is shloka in Bhagavatam which I don't remember now. It says that when somebody takes to devotional service, right, all the different types of karma that you have, irrespective of whether it is kuta, bijastha, or no, prarabdha, whatever it is, everything is actually burnt into ashes. So just like in a forest, when there is a forest fire, right, the forest fire doesn't distinguish, you know, what is an animal, what is a tree, right? Everything in the forest fire, including the reptiles, snakes, everything is burned completely. So similarly, the devotional service is just like that it can burn all the karma in various stages. So we don't have to really understand much about karma, but you have to just understand that if you take to devotional, that is the only way by which actually the karma can be changed. There is no other way that karma actually can change. The prarabdha karma especially, which is already decided, no? There is no other way we can change it. Only by taking shelter of the Lord. How it is possible? That by taking shelter of the Lord, we can actually get free from the reactions.
Faith.
Okay. Prabhuji actually in the beginning he told one shloka, right? Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya Ma Mevaye Prabhadyante Maya Medam Tarandite. So this shloka actually gives answer. So what Krishna is saying is that Krishna himself is saying, the Krishna is the creator of everything, right? So he's saying that, no, like Maya Dekshana Prakriti, and there are various shlokas, Bhuktaram Yatatabasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's saying that I am proprietor of the whole world. So Krishna has created the material world, and he's saying that Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya. What it means is that this material energy of mine, right? Devi Esha Gunamayi. Guna means the three modes, Sattva-guna, Raja-guna, Tama-guna. Gunamayi, Devi Esha Gunamayi. Devi means this material energy of mine. Gunamayi. Mama Maya Durataya. So he's saying that this is my energy, Mama, my energy. This material energy is my energy, right? Durataya means it's very difficult to overcome. Unsurmountable, right? Krishna is saying that I have created this material energy, Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Durataya. This material energy of mine is very, very difficult to overcome. But however, Mam Evaye Prabhadyante, Maya Medam Tarantite, saying that, but whoever surrenders unto me, right, for them it is very easy to overcome. Mam Evaye Prabhadyante, Maya Medam Tarantite. So, and also in 18th chapter we know, right? Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamegam Sharanam Raja, Aham Tvam Sarva Pabebhyo Mokshayikshami Mashajaha. So there actually Krishna is very clearly saying that you actually, basically multiple times Krishna is repeating that you surrender unto me, right? If you surrender unto me, then actually we will be free from all the reactions, right? So why are we not able to surrender? The solution is very simple, right? So Krishna has told many times, depend on me, right? Krishna also says that, what is that shloka? Manmana Bhava Bhakta, and also Matchitta Sarva Durgani Mat Prasada Tarishyati. Ada Chetvam Ahankara Na Shoshati Na Vinashati. What is saying? Matchitta Sarva Durgani Mat Prasada Tarishyati. He's saying that if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles in the material life. Krishna is saying that. And he's not just saying about spiritual life. Even if you're like in everybody's life, we pass through so many different obstacles in our life, right? So many tests, so many trials and tribulations. So what Krishna is saying that if you become conscious of me, right, then you will pass over all the obstacles by my grace. He is guaranteeing that. So, but we are the living entity. Why did the living entity come to the material world? Because he doesn't want to surrender, right? The primary cause of coming here is that we don't want to be independent. So, because of by design, the living entity is very reluctant to surrender to anybody, right, and to Supreme Lord also. So that is why we find it very difficult. Even the Lord actually is clearly saying that, no, depend on me, surrender unto me. But we find it because that is why we are here. So unless until we are freed from our false ego, it is very, very difficult for us to surrender. Right? So that is why we see that in today's world, no, there are so many different spiritual organizations, right? So many organizations. I don't want to name them, but many of the organizations are actually trying to spread the impersonal philosophy. Why is the impersonal philosophy so appealing to the public? If you talk about impersonal philosophy, you can see that there are a lot of people going there. If you take like so many others, no, I don't want to name, but so many organizations that so many people are following. So why it is? Why do they get so many followers? Anybody knows why?
Surrender is not because
Yes.
Rules and regulations are not there.
Yes.
So that is why they are like.
Yes. So the main thing is that surrender is not there, as Prabhuji told. Because it's an impersonal conception, right? So this is one of the ways of escaping the surrender. Because we come up with the philosophy saying that the absolute, supreme absolute is impersonal. It's just an energy or light. So if it is an energy or light, then naturally there is no question of a surrender coming, right? So that way people say that okay, they are ready to do that because there is no answerability, accountability, right? So it is easy. People will follow that because there is nothing. I don't have to give up anything in my life, right? So that is why Prabhupada used to say that wherever actually we sell diamonds, right? Diamonds and costly jewels, there will be less people. And then if you sell imitation or cheap thing, there will be a lot of people that are ready to go, right? So that is the thing. So and also to buy something, if you want to buy a very precious jewel, then you need to have that what you call money. So what is the money to get Krishna Prem? Love, yeah. So there's so many. Ultimately, yeah, bhakti is required. So unless and until we have accumulated enough sukriti, actually we cannot come to the basic devotion. Like for example, Prabhupada used to say that if you just see somebody chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then we have to assume that he has done all the pious activities in his previous birth. Without that, he cannot come to that stage, right? So Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, there are 4 kinds of people coming to me, right? Artho, Artharthi, Jitnasu, Jnani, right? These are the 4 kinds of people who surrender unto me. But he's saying Sukritino Arjuna. So they are Sukritino, they have done Sukriti, right? And then these 4 kind of people who have done Sukriti, they come to me. So unless only, that is why many places we do programs, right? We do in apartment, we do in like various places, but hardly anybody is interested, right? So that is multiple reasons are there. One is that they don't have a Sukriti. But actually, what has happened when Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually he distributed it freely, without any condition, without any qualification. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayade, Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya, Gauradishe Nama. So he is the most munificent incarnation, right? Without any, so Krishna actually is putting different conditions in Bhagavad Gita, right? You are saying that fully surrender unto me, right? His expectations are very high. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are multiple reasons Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually appeared in this world. One of them actually he used to deliver the conditions, like Advaita Acharya, because he was very fervently praying to the Lord. No? Like how these people are so sinful, they are not ready to listen to me at all. How these people, like unfortunate people, how will they get liberated? So like this, Advaita Acharya was praying, right? So and Lord actually could not sit actually in the spiritual world, and then he was forced to come. Okay, so Lord actually, basically everything is Lord's arrangement. No, it is not that something happened without his knowledge. Everything is his own arrangement. But actually, so he found a reason to come to deliver the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. So we have to consider anybody who is connected to this Sankirtan moment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We should consider that we are very, very fortunate, right? That's what Brahmanda Premade Kono Bhagyavan Jiva. Bhagyavan. So Bhagyavan is a fortunate soul, right? So we should not consider this as something very cheap, or no. We should give very, very important, high importance to this. Somehow or other, actually, we are fortunate and we are in the association of devotees, right? It is actually very, very rarely attained. So the Lord Krishna is ready to give liberation. If you ask liberation, he is ready to easily give liberation to anybody. But he is very, very reluctant to give Krishna Prem. Krishna Prem is the most treasured thing, right? Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtan, right? So actually it's coming from the spiritual world, right? And it is the most valuable thing in the spiritual world. So somehow or other, by somebody's grace or mercy, we are actually in this moment. So right? So we should consider ourselves very fortunate, right? So how are we? So that is why many times we hear this statement called costless mercy, right? What does costless mercy means? Unconditional. Basically, we are not qualified to get actually Krishna Prema, right? We necessarily, maybe very few souls are there, no? See, the spiritual, like spirituality or like anything connected to spirituality is not something that somebody can achieve by their own endeavor, right? Spirituality can only be achieved by somebody's mercy. It can be either a pure devotee of the Lord or by the Lord Himself, right? Otherwise, most of the other things in the material world can be achieved by our endeavor, right? If you put extra effort, trying hard, you may achieve it one day or other. But spirituality is not like that. But that doesn't mean that endeavor is not required. No, we cannot just wait for the mercy. Both are there. No, we know that story of Damodar pastime, right? So there is the endeavor is there and also mercy. Both are important actually. But essentially, we have to just understand that it is not just possible by our own endeavor. Like the scholarship or like material knowledge, these things cannot give us Krishna Prema, right? Actually, we have to depend on other devotees, devotee association, right? By the mercy of other devotees, we will get it, right? Yeah. So second part of this thing. Second point is actually what Krishna is saying here is that Atnanena Avrutam. So why does the living entity thinks that the Lord actually is responsible for his karma? It's because of Atnana, right? The bewilderment. No? It is explained like this. How is it explained? However, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So as we have seen, right, we just saw in the beginning that why does the living entity come to the material world? So as soon as the living entity comes to the material world, his real knowledge is covered immediately. That is by design. It's not by accident. Every living entity, when they take birth in the material world, the real knowledge is covered. So what is the real knowledge? Yes. Jivera Swarup Bhai Krishna Nityadas, right? So the constitutional position of the living entity is to become a servant of the Lord. But that actually relationship, the living entity forgets completely, right? And as soon as he forgets, he actually considers himself to be the body. The living entity in the material world, they actually are put into the bodily consciousness. So everybody is convinced, there is no question. We are normally, because we are in the spiritual line, at least we are able to think that we are not the body, right? But otherwise, the living entity, there is not even a thought that I am not the body. Everybody is convinced, they are actually take it for granted. Always everybody thinks that I am the body only, right? So because of this conception, our entire, that is the Maya's most powerful thing, right? By this conception, all other attachments develop. Because I think that I am so and so person, right? I think that, okay, this person is my wife, this is my child, right? This is my father, this is my mother. All these conceptions evolve because I think I am this body, right? And because of that, that is the main thing that actually traps the living entity in the material world, right? So this way, the real knowledge of the living entity is covered in the material world. So there is one shloka in Bhagavad Gita which actually tells that there are different levels of covering of the living entity. Anybody knows the shloka? Yes. You can say, tell the. Remember the shloka? धूमेन आवृता वह्निर् यदा दर्शो मलेन च यदो लपेनावृतो गर्भस् तथा तेनादम आवृतम. So basically it says that as fire is covered by smoke, as mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by the different degrees of lust. So this is the, so basically like we can classify the living entities into three main categories. One is the human beings who have the higher level of intelligence. So their consciousness is covered just like the fire is covered by the smoke, which is the most subtle covering. Right? Actually, it is very less covering. No, smoke is slightly covers the fire, so which means that it is easy to remove the covering when we are in the human form of life. And the next example is the mirror, which is covered by dust. So this is the next gross level of covering. So these are like the animals, right? They have more. They don't have so much consciousness which is evolved like human being, but still they have consciousness, right? And the least is the trees, for example, the trees and plants. So their consciousness is just like how the embryo is covered by the womb. Actually, it's very more gross. So this way, the different categories of living entities are covered to different extent, right? So that is why the human form of life is actually the most ideal form to understand the spiritual topics, right? That is why the human birth is known as, it is called Durlabham Manusha Janmam, right? So after so many millions of birth, a living entity actually gets this human form of life. So that is why it is very, very important to take Krishna consciousness in this form of life, because it is the only possibility in our entire existence. Like in the 84 lakh species of life, this is a very rare opportunity that actually we can understand these topics, and there's a chance of going back to Krishna, right? Once you miss, it's just like a big junction, right? The train is going, let's say Rajdhani, it has only 4 stops, right? So if you miss, let's say one stop, let's say Nagpur, then actually you have to wait for so many different stops again to change your course of travel, right? Similarly, so this is like human life is like a big junction that actually comes after a very long journey. And if you miss this place, then actually you will have to again wait for a very, very long time. Because again you have to go through a cycle of so many different species of life again to get a human birth. So that is why we should take it very seriously, Krishna consciousness in the when we get this human form of life. Yeah, so one more shloka I want to just say, which Prabhupada very frequently quotes. This shloka is Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 84, chapter 13 shloka. Yasyatma buddhi gunabe tridatuke swadik kalatrādishu bhaumaichyaneya yattirtha buddhi salilena karchijit Janeshwa Vidneshu Saeva Gokara. Right? So this shloka Prabhupada used to very, very frequently quote. What it means is that a human being who identifies his body made of 3 elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of birth as worshipable, and who goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take bath, rather than meet the man of transcendental knowledge, is to be considered like an ass or cow. So it's a very, very strong statement from Prabhupada, right? So actually, most of us are, we are in this stage, like when we started Krishna consciousness, still we are in the stage only. So we are actually thinking, right? We think that we are the body, right? And then most of our activities revolve around our family only, right? Whatever we are doing, whatever hard work, day and night we are working, all these things actually we are doing for our family, because of the family attachment, right? Prabhupada used to say, the economic condition is only surviving because of the family attachment. That is one of the fundamental principles, right? Because of the family attachment, only this economic situation is going on. If people doesn't have the desire or this commitment to work for the family, then actually things will fall apart. So that is a stronger force, right, which actually binds the things, right? So what has to be understood? So does it mean that tomorrow we should go and resign the job, and then say, fine, actually, I'll leave everything? Is that what Prabhupada is expecting us to do? Then how should we take up Krishna consciousness? Yukta Vairagya. So this the Maya is very difficult thing to understand, right? We have seen some time back. So there is one pastime I would like to tell in this context, is to understand the power of Maya. Okay. So the story is about Narad Muni. I think some of you may be knowing this story. So Narad Muni, once actually he goes to Krishna, and he asked Krishna that, I have heard so much about Maya, right? So I would like to know the power of Maya. How powerful is Maya? Okay. So Narad Muni is a, as all of you know, he is a liberated soul. No, he is a pure devotee of the Lord. So in the material world, everybody is under the influence of Maya. Only the pure devotees of the Lord are not under the influence of Maya, right? So we know that there are two categories of living entity, right? Nitya Baddhas and Nitya Siddhas. So Nitya Baddhas are eternally conditioned souls, and Nitya Siddhas are eternally liberated souls. So sometimes the eternally liberated soul, they descend from the spiritual world just to enact the pastimes of the Lord, just to give company to the Lord. Because Lord, whenever he comes, he always comes with his associates, right? Itne Sankirtana Praye Echanti Sumaya Sango Pankasta Shastra, right? Basically, Lord never comes alone. So when Krishna appeared in the Vrindavan, he made arrangement that all his associates, Gopas, Gopis, and even many demigods, all of them actually first they took birth in the material world in different families of Yadu dynasty, right? And then actually he appeared. So similarly, whenever Lord comes, his devotees and associates will always come. Okay. So why are you saying this? Yeah. So Narad Muni, Narad Muni is a pure devotee. So the Nitya Siddhas, right? So the Nitya Siddhas just come to enact the pastimes. They are not. So when they come here, they are not under the influence of material energy. They cannot be touched. They are always under the control of Yoga Maya potency, right? Mahatmanas tumam partha devim prakriti mashrita, right? So he's saying that the Mahatmas, they are not under the influence of material energy. So this way, so Narad Muni is actually a pure devotee of the Lord. So he is not under the control of Maya. But because Narad Muni wanted to know what is the power of Maya, and he is not able to understand because he is eternally liberated, he will ask the Lord, okay, no, I want to know the power of Maya. So then Krishna will ask, are you sure you really want to know the power of Maya? So then Narad Muni say, yeah, I want to know. Somehow I want to know because I have been hearing for so long, I would like to experience it. Then the Lord will say, okay, let us go. And then they go in his Garuda. They come to the earthly planet. And then actually this story has different versions. So one of the stories says that there is a place called Kanyagupcha, right? There is where actually Kanyagupcha. Okay, where actually the Lord comes and they come to a village area. Okay. And then they come to here and then the Lord will say, okay, I will explain to you. But before that, I am feeling extremely thirsty. So can you please bring some water for me? So Narad Muni is very happy. He always want to serve the Lord. Any opportunity he want to jump. So Narad Muni say, yeah, of course, why not? So then Krishna will say, I will wait here, you go and get water. And it's very hot. So Narad Muni actually, he sees that they are actually in the border, somewhere in the forest. And then there's a village which is far away. Okay, so Narad Muni will actually start going towards that place. He walks very fast. And then as he goes, he feels he also feels parched, very thirsty because it's an extremely hot climate. And he's feeling very thirsty. So he'll think that, okay, when I reach the village, I'll get two classes. One I will drink and one I will give for Krishna. And then he enters the village. There's a very beautiful village, right? And then a lot of people, simple-hearted people are living. And he goes to one of the houses. Narad Muni, he's eternally liberated. He's not affected by anything, right? So not affected by lust, not affected by greed. None of this defects he's having. But actually, because Lord arranged it, so he reaches one house and then he knocks the door. Okay. So what happens? A very extremely beautiful woman, lady, girl, actually she opens the door. Okay. So as soon as Narada sees that, actually he becomes bewildered. Actually, he actually falls in love with her, like we say, love at first sight kind of thing. And then he actually he'll not go back. He'll try to be in that area. And then next day he meets her father, and then he asks, I would like to marry your daughter. Okay, and then somehow by Lord's arrangement he gets married. And the rest is history, we say. The rest of things all of us know, right? How exactly in the material world things happen. So Narad Muni actually get married, and he will have a very nice time. Then actually he becomes very respected in the village. And then he'll have many children, and then he becomes busy. Right? When you have children, like their education, then like he's worried about making money and then fulfilling the desire of the wife. So he gets so much engrossed in the material life, like he forgets everything and completely. And then the days are going very nicely, around 10 years, 12 years pass, his father-in-law will pass away and he inherit all the property. And he become very famous in the village. Everybody actually is behind Narad Muni. Like he's the Mukhya kind of thing. So Narad Muni becomes very happy. He thinks, why? I don't know why Lord says Maya is problematic. Everything is perfect. What is wrong? Like that he thinks actually. So then when everything was perfect, like picture perfect, they say, the picture perfect life. and then they lived happily forever, like that. But suddenly what happened? One fine morning, actually there was a river which is going nearby. Suddenly the river starts swelling, it expands, and then there will be huge flood, deluge. The entire village gets flooded. Okay, and then Narad Muni, everybody is trying to escape. And many people, all people are, people started dying, and Narad Muni somehow gets a boat. Okay, and then he tries to get into the boat. His family, they all get into the boat, and then the boat is going for some time, and then the boat capsizes. Okay, and the Narad Muni actually is very much worried. Actually, one of the child is sitting on his shoulder, another one is hand, and then other hand is holding his wife and trying to save them somehow or other. So he becomes extremely distressed. He's thinking what to do, and by the time one child will fall down, okay, and he'll try to escape, pull that child, the other child will fall. So both the childs will go away, and then so he's attached to wife too much. So he's trying to protect his wife, but then after some time, wife she also gets washed away. So then Narad Muni becomes extremely distressed. He loudly starts crying. He calls the name of the Lord. When he calls the Lord, he was extremely distressed. And when he calls the name of the Lord, suddenly everything disappears. Nothing is there actually. There's no flood. And there's nobody. He was in the old place wherever he was. Right. So then actually sees the Lord, and the Lord will ask you, "Where is my water?" I asked some water. What happened to the water? So this is our condition actually. See, the living entities, sometimes this happens in a dream, right? Sometimes when we have a nightmare, we undergo the same experience, right? Some very bad dream. How many of you experienced a nightmare? So we think that it is real. Huh? Sometimes we shout in the dream, right? Sometimes we can see our children shouting, right? My son actually has a habit. Many times when he'll something, suddenly in the night he'll keep telling something. Leave, something and all. So we think that it is reality. The dream we think as reality, and sometimes we will perspire, right? And we also experience the pain sometimes in the dream. So it is told that actually whatever our current experience is, sometimes it's just like a dream. But actually we are convinced that we are this body. In the dream, temporarily we are convinced that we are a different person, right? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes we think that we are a different person. And then we are convinced that some animal is coming, lion is coming to attack. So we are convinced that this is all true. And then we experience the pain also. And so at that time we cannot think that we will not think that we are this body. We are another person. So same way it is told that all the experience which we undergo now, right, is just like a dream. But then we are 100% convinced that it is true. That is why we are so much distressed. We worry so much, no? Suppose somebody tells, okay, tomorrow they diagnose that you have cancer. Then what will be a condition? We are so much distressed. Everything will go. We will not be able to think about Krishna, nothing. Right? Everything is gone. So because actually we are fully convinced. So the point is that two things actually we can understand from this. One is that the power of Maya, how powerful Maya is. So even Narad Muni was convinced for temporarily that he was undergoing all those things. The same way for us also it is true. Right? So one way of thinking is that we should not take it so seriously, the life. Not that we should waste the life, but actually whatever is destined, this is an experience for us. We have passed through so many different experiences, but we'll keep on undergoing this kind of experience if you don't get out of this place. As long as we are here, we'll go through the distress. Because that is how the material world is designed for this actually. Because the living entity wants to enjoy independently. Right? The Lord has created a kind of replica. That is why we have the sloka, no? Urdhva Moolam Madashagam Ashwatam Prahuramaya. So basically, the material world is just a reflection of the spiritual world. There is a real spiritual world which has all these kind of feelings, expressions, and all these things which we see in the material world. But it is all perverted here. Right? So just like a father, let's say there is a small boy who is 3 years old. Okay, 5 years old, let's say. And the boy asks the father, please give your car. Like, you have a car, let's say, whatever it is, Ford. So, father, I want to drive your car, let me drive. So, what the father will say, nowadays father may allow, but now there is a new rule, right? The father will live in the jail if the child is caught. But otherwise, father will not mind actually. So, father, generally, a responsible father will not give the car to the son. What he'll do? He'll buy a toy car. And he say, you play with, son, you play with this toy car. So, similarly, the Lord has created this material world to fulfill your desire. Because you did not want to be with me, this material world is there where you play whatever you want. You will, by design, you will be frustrated sooner or later. And then you will come back. Then you find a way and then you come back to me. So the Lord actually is not cruel, because people who are not Krishna consciousness, they think that the Lord is cruel, because we see so many things happening in the material world, right? So many war is the famine, this virus, whatever it is. So there are so many calamities which happen, and all kind of people are affected. It is not that only bad people are killed, right? Apparently innocent children are killed. Let's say there's a plane, like 300 people and plane crashes. So everybody is there. Somebody rich, somebody maybe not very poor, but all different kind of people, children, old, everybody. So people cannot understand if there is Lord, why does it happen? Because they think only in one lifetime. They don't think beyond one life, right? Because all these things which are happening is because of so many things which has happened in the past. So this way, the Lord, people think that Lord is very cruel, but actually the Lord is very merciful, because He has created. Only thing is that we are very distressed in the dream. Actually, He has given an experience to suffer, right? So we take it for real. That is one thing, and at the same time, He has given also the manual of how to come back. It is not that He just cast us to the material world and remain there for no. That is why when the material world is created, He also created the Vedic knowledge, right? The spiritual knowledge by which He has given how we can go back to Him. That is what actually all the scriptures essentially talk about, right? The essence of Vedic scriptures is Bhagavad Gita, right? And Bhagavad Gita actually talks about how can we go back to the Lord. So only thing is that we are not ready to take advantage. Just like the two birds in the tree. So the birds are extremely busy and then they don't want to look at the Lord. But as soon as the living entity, as soon as he looks at the Lord, immediately he is ready to help us. He is just waiting for us. But actually we don't want to look. We have not finished our quota of enjoyment. So that is why we have to understand this and try to finish the cycle of birth and death. Right? Yeah, that is pretty much I want to say. Yeah, another thing. So from this, what actually Narad Muni, many times he gives an important lesson to us. There is another story of Narad Muni, which is the power of association, right? That right now I'm not going to say, but the thing is that even a moment's association of a sadhu, that can give us so much benefit. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy, right? So the Narad Muni story is like that only. He meets different living entity, and as soon as Narad Muni meets, it will die. Some other body it is. So that its process of going back is accelerated by meeting a pure devotee. So it gets new births and finally gets a human birth. So without human birth, it's very, very difficult to go back to the Lord. Because human birth is only like other animals. Sometimes by the mercy of the Lord they can go back, but otherwise, general principle is only in human life we can go back. So the sadhu sangha is very, very important. Right? If you don't do anything else in Krishna consciousness, we have ABC, right? Association, books, chanting and diet. So all of them are important actually. But if you are not able to do other things, if you just remain in association of devotees and do anything, nothing else, sooner or later it is guaranteed that actually you will make progress. Because the devotee association, because other devotees will pull you automatically. When you stay in association of Bhakta Jana Sangha, right? When you are in that, because we always go through thick and thin in our life, right? Not every time is very perfect. Sometimes, many times devotees actually fall down because of that. And I think Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, that is Vaishnava Ke, right? In Vaishnava Ke, that Nirjana Bhajana is explained. So actually this is also one of the trap of Maya. Sometimes devotees think that, okay, so many problems are happening in the center, right? So this devotee is talking like bad to me, or no, he is not giving me respect, or no, he is misunderstanding me, or he's shouted at me. So sometimes we feel bad actually, and then we think that no, let me be alone. Because these people are not proper. Let me go alone and stay. So that is the biggest last snare of Maya, one way we can say, the biggest trap of Maya. Because that's what Krishna Bhuliya Jiva Bhogavan Chagare. Basically, as soon as you leave the association of devotees, Maya is ready always. Right? What is that shloka? Krishna Bhuliya Jiva Bhogavan Chagare Nikata Aste Maya Tare Japatya Dhare. So he's just waiting, Maya is just waiting to catch you. So that is why we may think that, okay, if I am at home, look, let me even, I may have deities, I get up morning, I'll chant everything, I'll do all the, I'll read Bhagavatam for like 3 hours. Whatever you do, but if you are not in association of devotees, then actually it's very difficult, easy to fall down. Right? So that is why very, very important, association of devotees is the most important thing actually. So I just wanted to say, like the opportunity is there now for us Because actually all of you know about the new project which is coming up, right? You're coming up with a new project. So actually we are coming up with somebody who doesn't know. We are actually, we have been looking to have a kind of temple for a long time. Okay. So unless and until Lord desire is there, our devotees' desire are sincere, the Lord actually may not sanction it. You'll see what, Lord doesn't need anything. He doesn't need temples actually. He is the supreme. He has everything. But a temple is actually important for us only, for the devotees, for association and going back. Because Lord is self-sufficient. He is Atmaram. No? He has everything. He is not short of anything. He doesn't need anything. But actually, for our mercy, for our benefit, actually, the Lord is giving us opportunity to come back. So we have been trying for very long, and then we did not have the funds to buy a land and build a temple. Right? So that is why we came up with the idea to go for an apartment kind of thing. And so we somehow after long search we got an apartment where the basement we are planning to build a temple, right? And then devotees will buy and stay in the apartments so that we get both. See, generally if I ask you, give me 50 lakhs, all of you. We will build a temple. How many of you are ready to give 50 lakhs? Or 10 lakh also? Nobody is ready, right? So that is why. So we thought, okay, you give money and we'll give an apartment, flat, a house. So we are not losing anything, right, by doing that. So this opportunity is there, right? And then we are under the process. So about 15, total 24 apartments are there. 15 devotees have already committed for that. So actually we should look at this as an opportunity to serve the Lord. Not that, no, if you look from a material perspective, okay, how much, let me put this much money, how much will I get in return? Or is it convenient, is it near my office, is it near my children, kids or school? That way if you think it's not going to work. We have to think that what is most important thing is that it's an opportunity to build a Vishnu temple, right? And the scriptures repeatedly tell the importance. So anybody who who put one stone, whatever minimum effort, even if you do a small effort in building a Vishnu temple, actually we get immense benefit, spiritual benefit. Right? Whoever builds a temple of Vishnu, it is guaranteed that they will go back to Vaikuntha just by doing that activity. So like that there is a huge opportunity for us, right? So all of you can think about it actually, right? It's a very good opportunity. Still we are looking for more devotees to join. So please utilize the opportunity. So with that I would like to end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If there are any questions or comments, Prabhu will explain. Answer.